his name may be going to the Guinness Book of Records for the longest life of a ministry in several ministries. We didn't come here to accept all these unexpected awards and rewards and the smiling faces only. We came here with a mission, impossible, and we would like to make it possible. We came to Bombay to attend the first National Conference on AIDS, which was on Taj Hotel for 3 days. We got several informations. We gathered those informations. Based on those informations and also the contacts that we made there, and also the information we gathered from USA, when the government of USA was sending one of our congressmen, Congressman McDermott, he was giving us an alarming story of Indian epidemic, the spread of the deadly virus of AIDS. Then we thought of forming immediately. We gathered our care and share executive directors. We made a plan to visit Bombay, to attend the seminar, and to immediately to visit other states and to form different chapters to serve, as well as to make aware of our own people, especially the administration, the bureaucrats, the ministers. They are also illiterate. I'm sorry to say this, Minister. When I met one of the ministers in Delhi, his information was, we have only 193 cases of AIDS in this country. I categorically told him that it is an erroneous statement. Today we have more than 2.5 million AIDS cases in this country. Last night and day before yesterday also, it was in CNN, they were showing all kinds of figures. We are here not to give all kinds of figures, but here to make the awareness and to how to prevent this deadly virus spreading towards our community. It is our responsibility to put some pressure on the government, and I want to put this group, I would say this elite group in here, to meet with the government officials and to do the follow-up in here, especially in Madras, and to make aware of the deadly virus and also its consequences. We had a lengthy meeting this morning and also this afternoon. We were discussing how to implement our projects. We have several projects we discussed. We exchanged certain ideas, and now it is the local chapter. It is their responsibility. We would like to make them responsible to do the follow-up and to make it a successful program in Tamil Nadu. I'm pretty sure that if we can make our people aware as to the consequences of how it spreads and how we can stop the spreading to other communities, that is the only way that we can do this. There is no treatment, as you know. I don't think we would have any treatment in the nearest future if we didn't do it. I think we are sitting on a time bomb. I think it's about time we should open our eyes and we should make the people aware what is AIDS. It is not a joke, it is a serious matter. It is deadly and there is no cure. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to request your humble and also sincere efforts to work with this group that we have in Tamil Nadu, that we formed today, the chapter of Tamil Nadu, and make this program successful. We will try our best, whatever the way that we can do, whatever the funds that you need, in cooperation with the government as well as the people of Tamil Nadu. We don't want to be a single-handed operation. We want a joint venture here. We are willing to work with you. If that is going to be there, yes, we are here to help you. Thank you.
I also request Dr. Jacob to say a few words.
Let me say that when you read some textbooks, when it comes to the conclusion, usually you see an addendum. That means the author forgotten something and you want to add to the addendum. That's what happened to my status here, because in the last minute I decided to come to here and join with this group. Now, one of the reasons I came to Tamil Nadu, because the incident which taking place in 1968, when I came to Madras to get my visa, with excitement, I called the cab driver or the taxi driver to take me to the rail station, closest hotel there. So I selected a hotel and tried to stay there. because my train was about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, something like that. Half an hour later, I found out that I don't have my passport with me, with the visa. So I started calling the embassy, and they said they don't have it. And I took a personal trip to embassy, and they looked around and they told me that it is not there. So I came back to the hotel and I told about manager, why don't you put a list that I lost my passport and visa and everything. While I talked to the hotel manager, here comes the cab driver, the first cab driver who took me to the hotel with my passport. So during my travel, I asked him, how he's doing and everything. So he said he has 5 children, and of course he has wife and everything, Then when he brought me this passport, I was so happy. So I offered him 5 rupees that time. You know what he did tell me? Sir, I don't need this 5 rupees right now because he had a lot of expenses. You know what? Tamil Nadu people are great. They're wonderful people. I like to visit here and he gave his address and I wrote a letter after 1 year later. But that letter came back with a small check in it because I was a student that time. But still, I remembered this gentleman and I wrote, but it came back because he's moved out someplace now. The same thing I seen today. The reception you people gave to us this morning. And lately, I went to an orphanage house conducted by, managed by Mrs. Prabhakaran. I cannot explain the type of the reception those people gave to me, the children of that house. So beautiful. And in fact, I told the officials there that Karen Share is ready to give financially some help immediately. So I requested them send a request to Karen Share, being a board member of Karen Share and also the treasurer of Karen Share. I took a executive decision at that point that give you that proposal within a couple of weeks, we send you some financial aid. So again today, the wonderful reception you people are giving to us is unforgettable. So I want to thank you for doing this thing for us and hope we will visit you probably sometime in July or end of this year. Thank you very much.
Simply a little boy from a village in Chengalpattu district, and at the moment I happen to live in Sydney in Australia. And often, if you don't know the politics of Australia, we don't like the Americans. I come to Madras almost every year, and at the moment I'm doing some research and trying to look at the impact of the non-governmental organizations in Tamil Nadu. The non-governmental organization or the voluntary agencies are multiplying in number in this country, and trying to evaluate the kind of impact they've created in trying to develop the people. Voluntary organizations are good, but they have a great limitation. We are looking at the problems of development, which is imbibed in the system, and the minister was talking about if people land in Madras, then they lose all that they've learned in another country. But perhaps I think we need to look at more deeply into the systems that we have developed and the system that we need to change in order to grow and quicker. So I just happened to be here this evening because friends invited. I thought I would just come and meet a few people, and that's about it. I never expected the sudden invitation to say a few words here. So other than my own research, I work in the New South Wales Treasury in the area of tax policy and legislation. So that's my work. And at the moment, perhaps you might be interested for those of you who plan to dash off to Australia. We are trying to form an Indian association there, trying to assist people who land there, who may not know people and who need to be supported in the initial stages of their settlement. So we are doing the best, and we are also trying to see to what extent we can influence the government policy here, so that a number of things need to change, and perhaps this is not the forum to discuss this. And all that I want to say is that it's been a great pleasure to be here and to meet some of my friends, and all the best.
Organized by a good friend, Mr. V.r.s.sampath of the International Education Service. It's a coincidence that in 1983, it was the International Education Service who sent me to the California State University, Long Beach to do my certificate course in public health. It was thanks to Mr. V.r.s.sampath and his foresight and vision for setting up an organization like International Education Service, which had collaboration with the California State University in Long Beach to help us Indians to gain further professional education in public health. And I would like to at this time acknowledge Mr. Sampath and his organization for the wonderful work he's been doing. Mr. Sampath, as our Honorable Minister said, Dr. Navlan, is a quiet worker behind the scenes who often ruffles feathers, but in the end he achieves his goal. I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Sampath and the International Education Services. Today you're seeing a product of the International Education Service, what we can do and how we can achieve. Mr. Sampath came there last year, visited Wisconsin and Chicago. And at that time he made a very passionate plea for me to return to Madras, India and come and serve my country and the state. So as a compromise, after prolonged discussions with the assistance of Care and Share International and the founder and the board of directors, we said we'll set up some projects, NRI projects in India, hospital and few business ventures, which would help us to keep our relationships and roots in Madras, India, and which will enable us to come very often. So today is the first step in that direction, and I hope it's going to be a long, fruitful relationship between USA and India. As also as the president, newly elected president of the Indo-American Friendship Society, I really would welcome any cooperation from Mr. Sampath and other organizations in strengthening the ties, especially with the new world order, and strengthening the ties between the two countries. It's also a coincidence, it was Dr. Navlan, our beloved minister, in February of 1983, on eve of my departure, who had a felicitation function at the House of Soviet Culture, and who had also gave me a name called Dr.v.r.s.sampath at that time. I was very much younger. And it's so nice to have Dr. Navlan here again, back here, to welcome me back and to welcome the projects we bring to India. Dr. Niranjan has always been, and his wife, who I worked under, Dr. Mrs. Vishalakshmi Niranjan, have always been one of the well-wishers and promoters of youth activities. We will always have had his blessings in all our projects and everything what we did, and we are very happy to see, as Mr. Joseph Anthony said, Dr. Navlan is still going strong and still helping the people and still being a leader for us. I would like to thank all of you all for your felicitations, and it's also nice to see today that we have all gathered together and we have a wonderful group of dedicated community leaders who were with us in 1970s, 1980s, especially Mr. Ravindran, who was then the chairman of Power and Transport Corporation. Before that, the Inspector General of the Armed Forces, Mr. Ravindran, and myself. We did several activities under Mr. Ravindran's leadership way back in the late 70s and the early 80s. And we're very happy to see that he is really still continuing those activities, and it's so happy that Mr. Ravindran, under his leadership, Dr. Ganapathy, have a community health organization which we started about 15, 20 years ago, is still operating and having a clinic in Ananagar. It's such people who are rare to see, the rare caliber, who have formed together with peoples like Mr. Sarah Chanda, who is also a very active founder of the Spastic Society of Tamil Nadu, who led the YWCA into a new era. And today I was so happy when I was passing Korumili High Road to see the new YWCA centenary building. And I know it's efforts of all people like Mrs. Chanda and other former presidents who have made that into an institution. I'm also very happy that Care and Share Tamil Nadu chapter has brought the life of my professor and madam, Dr. Logosundari Selvaraj, who I owe a great deal of gratitude to for shaping me with Dr. Ganapathy into public health activities. Dr. Logosundari Selvaraj, I served as a house surgeon in a unit when she was the professor of obstetrics and gynecology, and later she rose to be a very eminent director of the Institute of the Women and Child Health in EGMO Madras. And now she and her husband, Dr. Logosundari Selvaraj, I often refer to as a godmother, and her husband, Mr. O.R. Selvaraj, for all the coaching. In spite of all the extracurricular activities we used to do from Mr. Ravindran's office, we were more in his office than medical school. So we used to have the night school in Dr. Logosundari Selvaraj's house with Mr. Selvaraj as our professor and tutor, to make sure we don't come out of the room only for the meal times till we finish our studies and make sure we finish the chapters complete. So those days will be etched in history. We're eternally indebted to Dr. Logosundari Selvaraj and Mr. Selvaraj for the wonderful guidance and counseling for what we owe our status to today. We're also happy that Dr. Kantaraj, Dr. Pritika Chari, and others have joined today, and I'm sure the Care and Share Tamil Nadu chapter will enter new horizons under Mr. Ravindran's leadership and would really be helpful in combating the AIDS epidemic in Tamil Nadu today and India. I'm also very happy to see my friends Mr. Yadav Raj, Mr. and Mrs. Vasigaran, Mrs. Kanti Matyari Chelva, Mr. Parthiban, Vijayalakshmi, and Professor Nyana Asif, Principal of YMCA College, and all the others who are here today to join us in celebrating this event. We're also very happy that my uncle, Dr. Malcolm Adastasia, and my cousin, Mrs. Rajshri Adastasia, are also present here today. And also a very dear family friend of ours, Mrs. Tangamachari, who is